The sun poured in through the nursery window, painting everything gold: the white crib, the soft gray rocking chair, the tiny socks lined up like ducks in a row. Emma Wallace was folding a set of baby onesies, little cotton clouds in pastel blue, when her phone rang. She almost didn't answer. She was 7.5 months pregnant, tired, and emotional, and Daniel was supposed to be home already. The only thing more frustrating than waiting was folding onesies while worrying about whether your husband forgot the prenatal vitamins again. But the number wasn't his. It wasn't saved at all. She swiped to answer. "Hello?" A man's voice came through, firm but not cold. "Mrs. Wallace?" "Yes. This is Officer Halston with the State Highway Patrol. Your husband, Daniel Wallace, was in a traffic collision off the eastbound 27 ramp. Paramedics transported him to St. Augustine Memorial." The onesie slipped from Emma's hand and fluttered to the floor. "What happened? Is he alive?" "Yes, ma'am. He's alive. He was unconscious when paramedics arrived, but breathing. There was only one person in the vehicle, and it appears he veered off the road at high speed." Emma's stomach twisted, part nausea, part panic. The baby kicked hard under her ribs, reacting to the spike in her heartbeat. "I'm on my way." 29 minutes later, Emma pushed through the hospital's sliding glass doors, breathless and holding her belly like a shield. She was escorted to the emergency surgery waiting area, where a nurse met her. "Mrs. Wallace?" she asked gently. Emma nodded. Her hair was frizzy from the wind. Her hands were shaking. "I'm Dr. Lennox. I'm the trauma surgeon who operated on your husband. He's stable and recovering in post-op." Emma's knees went weak with relief. "But," the doctor continued, "something unexpected came up during the procedure." Emma's stomach dropped again. Dr. Lennox led her into a quiet consultation room and closed the door behind them. She spoke carefully but with authority, the kind of calm that felt more ominous than reassuring. "During surgery, while repairing damage to your husband's shoulder and clavicle, we discovered a small object embedded deep in his tissue, near the scapula." Emma blinked. "An object?" "Yes, not organic, not bone or shrapnel. It's metal, very small but deliberate, not something you find by accident." Emma's mind tried to make sense of the words. "Like a bullet?" Dr. Lennox shook her head. "No, it wasn't weapon-related trauma. The object was intact, sealed in place, no scarring that would indicate a recent wound. It was placed." Emma stared at her. "I need to ask," the doctor said, "is your husband in the military?" "No." "Any recent surgeries, medical trials, foreign implants?" "No," Emma repeated. "Why? What is it?" The doctor hesitated, then leaned forward. "We don't know exactly, but it's not medical, at least not any standard FDA-cleared implant. It's something else. We've contacted hospital risk and legal." "Legal?" Emma echoed. "It's just standard," the doctor said quickly. "When we discover a foreign object without prior documentation, especially one of unknown origin, we have to report it for liability. If it turns out to be corporate tech, experimental, or part of a classified trial, we don't want legal exposure." Emma felt her heart thudding in her ears. "But what is it?" "We removed what we could safely reach, a small metallic fragment, sealed casing. Serial numbers we couldn't trace," Dr. Lennox said. She hesitated. "We're not sure if that's the whole device. There may be more embedded deeper. We'll need imaging to confirm." Emma stared at her. "A tracker." She couldn't breathe for a second. The doctor stood. "He's still unconscious from sedation, but you can see him now. He's stable." Emma rose, legs stiff. The baby shifted inside her as if sensing the tension. Before they exited, the doctor paused. "There's one more thing." Emma turned back. "There was a woman here earlier. She said she was his nurse, but we couldn't verify her credentials. She disappeared before we could confirm her ID." Emma's brow furrowed. "What did she look like?" "Mid-30s, blonde, confident. She had access to his bay before we realized she wasn't in our system. Security's reviewing footage now." Emma's breath caught again. They walked together toward the surgical wing. Emma followed in silence, her hand clutching her belly. As they approached the recovery bay, a green curtain hung half-drawn. The doctor gently pulled it aside. There he was. Daniel. Bruised, bandaged, asleep under the harsh hospital lights. Machines beeped softly beside him. He looked small, like a stranger wearing her husband's skin. But Emma's eyes weren't just on him. On a nearby tray was a sealed specimen jar. Inside it, a small, smooth object, metallic, no bigger than a grape. A tag was attached, unlabeled. Just numbers. Emma stepped closer. The object shimmered under the lights. Not a pacemaker, not a bullet, not a screw. It looked like something from a spy movie, and it had been inside her husband. Emma stood in the corridor outside her husband's recovery bay, but it felt like she was nowhere at all, suspended between disbelief and dread. She should have been relieved. Daniel was alive, breathing, stable. But the sight of that metal object in the specimen jar haunted her. Small, sleek, cold, labeled with no name, only numbers, not medical, not normal. And it had been inside him, buried deep as if he'd been built with it. The doctor's words echoed like an alarm she couldn't shut off. It looked more like a tracker than a medical device. Emma rubbed her belly, trying to calm the swirl of adrenaline. The baby responded with a flutter, not a kick, just movement. Almost like he knew something was wrong too. She pushed back the curtain. Daniel lay still under thin white blankets, an oxygen line resting beneath his nose. Bruises marked his temple and jaw. One arm was in a sling. The man who'd left for work that morning, joking about a late lunch and promising to pick up her favorite tie on the way home, looked like a stranger. Machines hummed and beeped softly. His chest rose and fell in rhythm with the heart monitor's quiet, indifferent blip. Emma sat down slowly, the vinyl chair creaking beneath her. She stared at him, searching for answers in his unconscious face. She thought about the morning, the coffee, his kiss, the way he'd rubbed her belly and whispered, "Don't let him party too hard while I'm gone." Was it all fake? No, she refused to believe that. Her Daniel loved her. She knew that. He was kind, attentive, excited about the baby. Their nursery was filled with things he'd picked out himself, the little wooden mobile, the handmade shelf shaped like a cloud. Who faked that? And yet, who had a tracker inside their body without telling their wife? The curtain moved slightly. Emma looked up. A woman had entered the bay. She was wearing scrubs, slate gray with navy trim, and held a tablet in one hand. Mid-30s. Blonde. Sharp posture. Her eyes were focused, unreadable. Emma hadn't seen her in the hallway. "Hi," the woman said calmly. "I'm doing post-op observation rounds." Emma instinctively placed a hand on her belly. "Are you his nurse?" The woman smiled, too quickly. "Just covering this wing, checking vitals." She moved closer to Daniel's bed and reached for the IV monitor. Emma stood. "Wait, he's just out of surgery. Shouldn't his attending nurse be here?" The woman glanced at her without blinking. "They rotate staff constantly. I'm cleared for this post-op floor." Emma's heart skipped. This had to be the woman the doctor mentioned, the imposter nurse who'd vanished before they could confirm her identity. She was back, and now standing right in front of her. Her voice was too smooth, too polished. Emma's eyes dropped to the IV line connected to Daniel's arm. The nurse was adjusting it with practiced ease, but something felt off. The fluid bag had no barcode, just faded initials scribbled in black ink. Not what Emma was used to seeing in a hospital. "Is that saline?" she asked carefully. The nurse didn't look up. "Doctor's orders." Emma stepped back slowly, a tight knot forming in her chest. Emma's heart began to race. "What's your name?" she asked, stepping slightly in front of Daniel's bed. The woman tilted her head. "Excuse me? I'd just like to know your name. You're not wearing a badge." For the briefest moment, the woman's eyes flicked toward the hallway. Then she turned back. "I'll be right back," she said lightly. "I left something at the station." And without another word, she pulled the curtain open and walked out. But not toward the nurse's station. She turned left, toward the elevator. Emma followed, her breath short, her instincts louder than her thoughts. By the time she reached the hallway, the woman was already pressing the elevator button. She didn't look back. Emma turned to the closest nurse's desk. "Who was that woman just now?" A nurse looked up, confused. "Who?" "The one who came out of room 14, my husband's bay. Blonde, gray scrubs, said she was doing observation." The nurse's brow creased. She tapped the keyboard, searching. "No one from post-op is scheduled for that room right now, and all our staff are wearing blue today. It's standard protocol. Gray is surgical floor only." Emma felt her mouth go dry. She said she was cleared. "She's not on the roster." A security guard nearby turned toward them, overhearing. "What's going on?" he asked. "Someone pretending to be hospital staff just accessed a post-op room," the nurse said. "Can we pull the hallway cams?" Emma didn't stay to watch. Her body moved before her brain did. She rushed back to Daniel's room, her heart pounding louder than the monitors. Was that woman here to hurt him? Steal something? Or protect something? The specimen jar was still on the tray. Emma stared at it. Her reflection warped in the surface of the metal inside. This wasn't over. That evening, back at home, Emma sat at the kitchen table surrounded by silence. She had the specimen jar in front of her. Tucked inside a padded envelope she'd taken when no one was looking. She knew it was reckless, maybe even illegal. But it was his, and no one else seemed interested in giving her real answers. Her phone buzzed on the table. Noah, Daniel's best friend, at least that's what Emma believed. Former cyber analyst. Now working freelance for private security firms. She had texted him earlier. Can you scan something for me? It's urgent. It was found inside Daniel. Now, his voice came through, low and unsettled. Emma, where the hell did you get this? Her skin prickled. It was inside him. They removed it during surgery. The doctor said it wasn't medical. We only removed what was accessible without risking internal bleeding, the doctor had said. It appeared damaged, possibly a fragment, but we couldn't retrieve anything deeper without more imaging and consent. Emma remembered how carefully he'd avoided calling it a complete device. Now, staring at the metal sliver inside the jar, she realized something. Whatever they found wasn't all of it. It's not, Noah said. This thing's encrypted. I've seen trackers like it before, on prototypes used for high-level surveillance, military contractors, biotech companies, asset tracking. This is next-gen stuff. Emma's voice trembled. You're sure? It's not consumer tech. This was meant to be hidden, durable, and completely untraceable unless you had the right access key. She closed her eyes. What does that mean? It means, he said, your husband was either being tracked, or he was tracking something, or someone. And whoever built this didn't want it to be found. Hours later, Emma sat in the nursery, rocking slightly in the chair. The baby kicked again. Strong. Steady. Her phone buzzed again, another missed call from the hospital. Daniel had woken up, but she didn't answer yet. She looked around the room. Everything felt different. The little shoes, the stuffed animals, the framed ultrasound. It had all felt so safe a day ago. Now she wasn't even sure who the father of her child really was. A loving husband? Or someone living under a name that didn't belong to him? Someone with a hidden device implanted under his skin? Someone watched, or watching others? Emma leaned forward, gripping her belly protectively. Whatever Daniel was hiding, whatever this was really about, she wasn't going to be the last to know anymore. She stood. She was going back. And this time, she was going to ask the right questions. Emma didn't sleep. Not really. She lay on her side in bed, one hand on her belly, staring at the ceiling as the silence pressed down on her. The only light came from the digital baby monitor she hadn't even used yet. Because the baby wasn't here. Not yet. But the danger already was. Daniel had woken up in the hospital. She knew that from the voicemail the nurse had left at midnight. But Emma hadn't called back. Not yet. She needed answers before she saw him again. Real ones. So just before 6 a.m., she got up, padded into Daniel's office, and sat down at his desk. The room was just like him. Precise, clean, neutral. Too neutral, maybe. She'd always found it odd how little personal stuff he kept in there. No framed photos, no high school trophies, no clutter. Just one closed laptop, a locked drawer, and a smooth row of color-coded files. She booted up the laptop, password protected. Of course. She tried the usual, their anniversary. Her birthday, the baby's due date, nothing worked. She stared at the login screen until the baby kicked, reminding her time was running out. 1 hour later, Noah arrived. He didn't say much, just hugged her awkwardly and set up his laptop. A few quiet taps and some software Emma didn't understand, then a pause. Emma, he said, turning the screen toward her. Her stomach clenched. User profile Aaron D. Wells. Work email, wells@valentglobal.org. Not Daniel Wallace. Aaron Wells. Her husband, the man she'd shared her life with for 6 years, was using an entirely different identity inside his own machine. Her voice was barely audible. Who is that? Noah shook his head slowly. That's what we're about to find out. The files on the laptop were buried under layers of encryption, too many to be random. Noah had to bypass 3 internal firewalls before anything visible even appeared. Then they started seeing folders. Echo Protocol, Shadow Clearance, Risk Containment, Personal Assets, and one labeled simply Celeste. Emma's skin prickled. She hovered her mouse over it, hand shaking, and clicked. Inside were dozens of messages, most of them short, to the point, dated over the past 2 years. The most recent was just 3 days ago. Sender, Celeste Pierce. Subject, protocol confirmed. If exposure occurs, initiate full wipe, no loose ends. The spouse becomes liability tier 1. Follow through immediately. Emma dropped the mouse. What the hell is this? Noah leaned forward, frowning. Celeste Pierce, she's not just a contact, she's giving him direct orders. Emma's mind raced. Is this corporate, government? Noah exhaled hard. Possibly corporate intelligence. Could be private sector black ops, biosurveillance, IP theft, counter-espionage. Big corporations run secret departments like this all the time, some with more power than local law enforcement. Emma stood up. So what you're telling me is that my husband, or whoever the hell he is, works for a company that implants tracking devices and writes about terminating liabilities like I'm a security threat. Noah didn't answer. He didn't have to. She went back to the desk and tried the bottom drawer. Locked. She knelt down, hands trembling, and yanked it hard. Nothing. Noah crouched beside her. Move. He used a slim flat tool from his backpack, fiddled with the latch, and in less than 30 seconds, the drawer clicked. Inside, a black passport. Foreign. With Daniel's photo, but the name? Aaron Daniel Wells. Multiple entry stamps, mostly Eastern Europe and the Middle East. A folded document sat beneath it. Emma unfolded it. Title, Echo Protocol, Contingency Directive Classification Level, Internal Private, issued by Valent Global Technologies, Secure Operations Division. The opening line read, this document outlines the necessary steps in the event of public exposure, asset compromise, or cross-intelligence breach. Priority, eliminate traceable contact points, including personal relationships, if deemed necessary. Emma couldn't breathe. Noah looked at her with concern. Sit down. She didn't. She stood in the middle of the office that didn't belong to her husband anymore. Because her husband didn't exist. Later that afternoon, as Emma sat on the couch with her hands over her belly, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She froze, then answered. Emma Wallace? The voice on the other end asked. Calm, confident, female. Yes, this is Celeste Pierce. Emma's entire body tensed. The woman from the files, the name on the protocol. I'd like to speak with you, privately. You've already spoken to me, Emma snapped. You were at the hospital, pretending to be a nurse. Celeste didn't deny it. I had to confirm certain things. You weren't a threat, but now the situation's changed. Emma's voice was sharp. I'm not meeting you, Celeste sighed. You don't have to, but I suggest you listen. Silence. Then Celeste said something that turned Emma's blood cold. He was never supposed to marry you, Emma. You were never part of the plan. The silence on the line stretched too long. He was never supposed to marry you, Emma. You were never part of the plan. Celeste's words buzzed like electricity under Emma's skin. I'm hanging up, Emma said sharply, even though her hand wouldn't move. No, you're not, Celeste replied calmly. Because you want to know, and you deserve to, even if it's too late. Emma's breath caught. Her body knew it. Her chest was tight, her stomach coiled, her mind a storm, but her voice held firm. You tracked me down. That's not a coincidence. No, Celeste agreed. Nothing about your life with Daniel was. Emma sat down slowly on the arm of the couch. The nursery monitor flickered softly in the background, white noise for a baby not yet born. Start talking, she said. You already know the basics, Celeste said. His name isn't Daniel Wallace, it's Aaron Daniel Wells. He works, or worked, for Valent Global's Secure Operations Division. Think corporate, intelligence, industrial sabotage prevention, asset tracking, and occasionally, asset removal. Emma swallowed hard. Why me? Celeste didn't answer right away. Emma, your brother-in-law is a senior engineer at Veracor Labs. Yes? Emma's blood ran cold. Her sister's husband, Mark, he worked in biotech. Daniel had met him at a wedding 4 years ago. They'd talked for hours. Emma remembered thinking it was nice that her husband had found a new friend. But it hadn't been friendship. It had been target acquisition. You were leverage, Celeste said. You gave him a reason to be around Mark's family. Dinners, birthdays, casual conversations. It's called proximity embedding. Create a personal relationship that grants natural access to the target. Emma felt like vomiting. So you're telling me my whole marriage, everything, was fake? No, Celeste said softly. That's where it got complicated. He wasn't supposed to get attached. Emma's vision blurred. She remembered Daniel laughing in the kitchen. showing her how to swaddle with a dish towel. The night he cried during their first ultrasound, the time he held her after her miscarriage 2 years ago, his face soaked in her grief. Fake? No, it couldn't all be fake. He loved me, she whispered. I know he did. Celeste didn't answer. Emma heard birdsong outside the window. It was morning again. A new day. But the truth made it feel like the sun hadn't come up at all. I'm not calling him Daniel anymore, she said. That's smart. Celeste continued. He broke protocol the moment he proposed. I warned him, repeatedly. Emotion creates cracks, and cracks get exploited. Emma could barely keep her voice steady. Then why didn't you pull him out? He was good, Celeste replied. Too good. His cover was flawless, his intel was clean, and Valent got what it wanted. By the time we realized he'd crossed a line, it was too late. What line? He wasn't just sleeping next to you, Celeste said. He started deleting reports, protecting you, hiding details, sanitizing digital footprints. He rewrote his own profile in our system. Emma closed her eyes. He had lied. But to them too. Did he love me? She asked. Celeste paused, longer this time. I don't think he knew how to not love you. That's what made him dangerous. To you and to us. Emma stood and walked to the window. The world outside still looked normal. Joggers, birds, cars, moms walking strollers. But nothing was normal anymore. What happens now? She asked. Celeste's voice shifted, colder. That depends on you. I'm 7 months pregnant with this man's child. That's the complication. Emma turned from the window. Say that again. I'm not threatening you, Celeste said carefully. I'm warning you. If Valent determines you or the child are liabilities with access to proprietary intelligence, they may initiate containment. Containment? You've read the file, Celeste replied. Echo Protocol spells it out clearly. Emma's throat felt like it was closing. I'm not a spy, she snapped. I'm a pregnant school teacher. I've done nothing wrong. I believe you, Celeste said, but belief isn't policy. Paperwork is. Emma grabbed the edge of the kitchen counter, gripping it to stay upright. What are you telling me to do? I'm giving you a window, a safe exit. Emma didn't answer. There's a contact 2 hours south of you. I'll text you an address. He'll provide documents, name change, housing, protection. I'm not running, Emma said. Celeste sighed. You're not running away. You're running ahead. You think you're staying for the baby's future. But the truth is, you're putting him at risk by staying. There was a pause. I protected you as long as I could, Celeste added. Emma looked toward the nursery. The mobile turned slowly, clouds spinning over a crib no one had slept in yet. You protected me? She said. You lied to me. You sent someone into my life to manipulate me. Celeste's voice cracked slightly. I didn't expect him to fall for you. None of us did. He changed the rules, and now I'm trying to make sure you live through it. The line went dead. Emma stood frozen, torn between fury and fear. She looked down at her stomach, gently curved under the fabric of her shirt. Her baby was still, peaceful, as if trusting her to protect them both. She walked back into Daniel's office, opened the laptop again, clicked into a file Noah had decrypted the night before. A folder called Failsafe Emma Wallace. Inside, flight reservations under a false name, bank account routing numbers in a foreign currency, a scanned lease agreement for an apartment in New Zealand, and a video file. Emma clicked it. Daniel. Or Aaron appeared on screen, beaten, bleeding, but alive. Emma, if you're watching this, it means I failed to get out in time. I don't know if they're coming for you or the baby or just me. But everything I told you, it was real. I didn't plan on loving you. You were supposed to be proximity. You were supposed to be an assignment. But then, I met you, and the plan unraveled. This world, the one I dragged you into, isn't forgiving. But I hope, maybe, you can be. Emma sat alone in the office, her baby kicking again. A new life, and a decision. If they came for her, they'd find a mother, not a target. Emma didn't sleep, not after Celeste's call, not after the video file, not after realizing her life was a manufactured equation, and she had been the variable. The baby moved all night, sensing her restlessness. Every time she drifted off, she dreamed of someone watching her. By morning, the choice had crystallized. She was leaving, but not quietly. 8:30 a.m. Emma opened her front door to find Noah already waiting. He didn't knock, didn't ring, just stood on the porch, hands in jacket pockets, eyes bloodshot like he hadn't slept either. You saw it, he said. Emma nodded. I saw everything. He stepped inside, closed the door behind him. So what now? Are you going dark? Emma handed him her phone. Wipe it. Scrub everything. Socials, location metadata. I want to disappear. Noah gave a short breath of surprise. Okay, that's not exactly a soft exit. I'm not giving them a breadcrumb trail. I know how these systems work now. Daniel taught me enough. Or Aaron, whatever his real name is. Noah opened his laptop. Where are you going? Emma didn't answer. She hadn't decided yet. What mattered was that they didn't know. Noah typed fast, dragging files, running scripts. He glanced at her. You know they're probably watching the hospital too. I'm not going back, Emma said. Daniel's on his own. He lied to me, to all of us. Noah hesitated. He lied, she repeated, but they're worse. Emma walked to the nursery. She picked up the framed sonogram on the windowsill and wrapped it in a baby blanket. It was the only item she'd take from the room. Every piece of furniture, every painted wall, it had all been built on a lie. The baby wouldn't need a perfect room. He'd need a mother with instincts sharp enough to outrun a corporate black ops team. 11:14 a.m. Noah had finished. Your digital footprint is dead, but it won't stay that way forever. I need 72 hours, Emma said. Then you'll get 72. But after that, your photo could be on an Interpol desk. Emma flinched. He closed his laptop. You sure you don't want to tell your family? They'd be targets, just like me. She picked up her go bag. It wasn't much. Documents, burner phone, hard cash. But it was enough. Noah stood by the door. You sure you're ready to run? Emma met his eyes. I'm not running, she said. I'm preparing for war. On the road, Emma drove south. The address Celeste had texted was 120 miles away. A safe house buried in a coastal town known for its retirement community and fog. It was the kind of place where no one asked questions and everyone drove 10 miles under the limit. The drive was eerily quiet. No radio, no calls, just the road and the occasional bump in the baby's rhythm. She glanced at the rearview mirror often. Every black SUV made her pulse spike. At the safe house, the man at the door was already waiting. Short, older, retired military if she had to guess. You're early, he said. I'm pregnant. He didn't smile, just nodded and stepped aside. Inside was bare, mattress on the floor, blackout curtains, portable heater. He handed her a duffel bag. New ID, passport, bank card tied to an offshore account. Don't spend more than $300 at any one store. Use cash. No internet. Emma opened the envelope. The name on the license, Amelia Clark. Born in Alaska, a travel nurse. She looked at the man. How long do I stay here? As long as they don't find you. Meanwhile, back in Seattle, a white SUV pulled into a parking garage across from Emma's apartment. Two men stepped out, not from Valiant Global, but not from law enforcement either. They moved with purpose. Black jackets, military boots, small earpieces, private contractors. They reached her door. One pulled out a phone, tapped the screen. The lock disengaged remotely. Inside, the apartment was clean, deceptively untouched. She's gone, one said. The other walked to the kitchen, looked inside the trash. He found it, the prenatal vitamin bottle. Emma's prescription label had been scratched off. She knew, he muttered. Then he walked into the nursery, stopped. Send a photo of this to HQ. The soft mobile still spun above the empty crib. In the safe house, Emma's burner phone vibrated. Unknown number. She froze, then answered. I'm here, a voice whispered. Emma's breath caught. Daniel, she whispered. But the voice kept talking, too fast, too panicked. They're going to find you. I tried to hold them off. They're bringing in a different team. Celeste doesn't control this anymore. What are you talking about? Echo protocol was compromised. The voice said, she made a move without clearance. They know you're pregnant. Emma gripped the phone tighter. How do you have this number? She asked. The voice faltered. I found it in his recovery logs, from the hospital's secure system. I work IT for Valiant. Please, just get out. Click. The line went dead. Emma stared at the phone, then at the window. A car had parked across the street. Meanwhile, a new betrayal bet. Back in Seattle, Noah sat in a coffee shop. He had Emma's old phone in one hand, his own burner in the other. He dialed. A voice picked up. Did she leave? The woman asked. Yes. Where? Noah paused. She's gone. That's all I'll say. You don't work for her, the voice said. You work for me. Noah's jaw tightened. Don't threaten me. I scrubbed her life for your benefit, but if I find out she gets hurt, I'll leak everything. The line went silent. Then a sigh. Fine. Stay useful, or stay disposable. The call ended. Noah looked sick. Back at the safe house, Emma packed the baby items tighter into the duffel bag. The voice on the phone had told her everything she needed to know. She wasn't just running from Valent. She was running from a rogue operation inside Valent. A power struggle, a hidden faction, a baby that might represent leverage or liability or both. She turned off all the lights, checked the door. The car across the street was still there. Then a knock, not on the door, on the back window. Emma turned, fast. It was her sister, Karen, her eyes wide, red, out of breath. "Emma," she gasped, "I've been looking for you for hours. Someone came to the school, asked questions. Then they came to Mom's house. They said they were federal agents. Emma, what is going on?" Emma stared. Karen had no idea, and now she was here. Traceable, vulnerable. Emma pulled her inside. "Did anyone follow you?" I don't think so." "What did they say?" Karen was trembling. "They said Daniel was missing. They said you were under investigation. They wanted to know if I'd seen you. I lied." "But Emma, what is happening?" Emma closed the curtains. Her heart was pounding. Karen had been followed. She had to have been. This wasn't just a breach. It was a setup. Someone had sent her sister directly to Emma's location. Boom, a crash outside. Emma grabbed Karen and shoved her to the floor. Glass shattered. A flash grenade clattered into the room, metal bouncing across hardwood. But it didn't detonate. It beeped. One long tone. A signal. Emma locked eyes with it. A red LED blinked on its side. 30 seconds. 29, 28. Not a weapon. A marker. They weren't trying to blow them up. They were marking them for someone else. She dove for the bed, reached under the mattress, grabbed the duffel, the car keys. "Karen, get up." Footsteps pounded outside. A second window shattered near the kitchen. Emma froze. Outside, tires screeched. A van skidded to a stop in front of the house. She didn't open the door. She grabbed Karen by the wrist and dragged her toward the back exit. "We're leaving. Now." They bolted into the alley, sirens already wailing faintly in the distance. Behind them, the countdown ticked to 0. No explosion, just silence. A drone buzzed overhead as they disappeared into the night. 2 hours later, Emma stepped into the hospital, her boots still damp from rain and alley dust. Her heart hadn't slowed since the flash grenade hit the floor. She and Karen had driven in silence, looping through back roads and side streets, making sure they weren't followed. Now, standing in the sterile corridor beneath flickering lights, Emma felt the weight of what they'd escaped, and what still waited ahead. The silence in the hospital corridor was unlike any Emma had heard before. Not clinical, not ordinary. It was expectant, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath, waiting for her next step. She stood at the nurse's station, a visitor pass clipped to her coat, and the tablet with Daniel's encrypted messages tucked under her arm. The nurse behind the counter gestured down the hall. "You're looking for room 317, last one on the left." Emma nodded. Every instinct screamed for her to turn around, but she didn't. She walked. Room 317. It sounded so harmless. The corridor stretched ahead of her like a tunnel. Each fluorescent bulb hummed above her, buzzing slightly off sync, like a heartbeat with an arrhythmia. Like Daniel's. Her boots hit the floor in rhythm. Step, step, step. The door at the end of the hallway stood slightly ajar. Inside, Daniel was awake. He looked thinner, paler, but conscious. When he saw her, he didn't smile, didn't cry, didn't say her name. Instead, he said one word: "You found it." Emma didn't respond immediately. She placed the tablet down on the small table near the hospital bed. "I read everything," she said quietly, "but you tell me now, out loud, the truth." Daniel looked at her for a long moment. "You weren't supposed to get involved." "Too late," she snapped. "That woman, the fake nurse, she drugged your IV, Daniel. She knew what was in your body." He swallowed. "She's not just a nurse," he said. "She's the asset manager." Emma blinked. "What does that even mean?" Daniel leaned back, grimacing slightly from the pain in his abdomen. "The microchip? What the doctors removed? That was only part of it," Daniel said. "The rest was deeper, fused near a nerve cluster. It wasn't just a tracker. It was the key, biologically encrypted. My heartbeat is the only thing that can unlock what it holds." "What's on it?" Emma asked. "What could possibly be worth this?" Daniel took a long breath. "Years ago, before I met you, I was embedded in an operation called Mira, a cleanup unit. We didn't assassinate targets. We erased them digitally, wiped identities, bank records, government trails, made people disappear, financially. They trusted me with access to the fail-safe backups, insurance, contingency blackmail files. If anything went wrong with the agency or the government, these records would bring everything down. He looked at her. And I hid it in my body because I knew they'd come for it. If it stayed on a drive, it'd be stolen. If I kept it in a vault, someone would betray me. So you turned yourself into a vault, Emma murmured. I became the lock and the key. Emma paced slowly. And what were you going to do? Carry this until you died? Never tell me, never tell our son. Daniel's eyes flickered. I thought I could leave it all behind. I thought if I left quietly, they'd let me go. You lied to me. You let people come into our home. You let me get involved when I was pregnant, vulnerable, and then you kept silent as strangers tried to kill us. You say you protected us, Daniel, but the truth is, you brought danger to our door. Silence. Then Daniel said, You're right. He looked away, and for once his voice didn't try to manipulate or soothe. I thought I could outrun my past, but it was never about me, Emma. You were the leverage. Her stomach twisted. They were never after just the chip. No, he said quietly. They were after you, because they knew I'd break if you were threatened, you and the baby. Before Emma could respond, the door creaked open. A woman stepped in, not the fake nurse, someone else. She wore a dark green blazer, hair slicked back, face sharp, calm, corporate, and terrifying. Daniel exhaled slowly. Cassandra. Emma stepped protectively in front of Daniel. The woman raised an eyebrow, amused. I'm not here to hurt you, Cassandra said. I'm here for closure. Closure? Emma spat. You sent an imposter into a hospital ward and drugged my husband. Correction, Cassandra replied, unbothered. Your husband used to be my handler. He's the reason most of us ever had a future. She stepped forward, addressing them both. Daniel wasn't just a cleanup agent. He was the architect of Mira. He designed the encryption protocol, the failsafes. The chip inside him is the last surviving link to every lie we buried for 2 decades. Daniel's face hardened. Then why are you here? Because it's over. The system is crumbling. Too many leaks, too many loose ends. You're one of them. Cassandra reached into her blazer slowly and pulled out a small silver case. This is the extraction unit. You remove the chip, give me the key, and I disappear. You live. She lives. No more threats. Emma narrowed her eyes. And if he doesn't, then someone else comes, Cassandra said simply. Less polite. Emma looked at Daniel. If that thing comes out of you, are you safe? Daniel nodded. As safe as I'll ever be. And if you don't, he didn't answer. He didn't have to. Emma turned back to Cassandra. Do it here, under my watch. Cassandra hesitated, then opened the silver case. Inside, a sleek device, humming quietly. It looked like a futuristic scalpel combined with a biometric reader. Lay him flat, Cassandra said. I'll need less than 5 minutes. It was silent, clinical, and terrifying. Emma held Daniel's hand. His knuckles were white with pain. There was no anesthesia, just grit. Cassandra worked quickly, removing a coin-sized chip encased in biofilm. The moment it left Daniel's body, a beep echoed from the device. It's real, she said. Still warm. She snapped the case shut. We're done here. She turned to Emma one last time. He chose right. He chose you. And then she was gone. Daniel lay still, breath shallow. Emma brushed his hair back. It's over, she whispered. But even as she said it, something gnawed at her. Why did Cassandra say he was the architect? Why did Daniel never admit that part? Was there still something he hadn't told her? Later that evening, after Daniel was asleep, Emma turned on the tablet. The decrypted files were gone, wiped remotely. Except for one. One folder remained, titled with a date, April 17th, Bellevue. She opened it. Inside was a video. Daniel's voice. If you're watching this, it means I've either died or finally told you everything. The screen flickered. His face looked younger, cleaner, before the lies. There's one thing left, Emma, something I never told Mira, not even Cassandra. It's not just data in the chip, it's leverage, proof of what they really did, to people, to families. If it ever comes to it, use it, expose it, burn everything. Emma sat frozen. The file ended with a password screen. One field, one prompt, mother's maiden name. Emma sat frozen in the chair beside Daniel's hospital bed. The glow of the tablet screen lit up her face. Her pulse pounded louder than the heart monitor beside her. The file had ended. One field remained. One prompt, mother's maiden name. She stared at the blinking cursor. This wasn't about her. The password wasn't hers, his mother. She tried to remember. Something from years ago. A casual conversation on the couch. A joke about Daniel's mom still signing cards with her maiden name. Judith Harland, he'd said, just to annoy my dad. Emma typed Harland. The screen blinked. Access granted. Folders opened. Audio, video, financial data, surveillance logs. One labeled, Project Daedalus, redline version. She opened it. Diagrams, code names, maps, wire transfers, people, governments, biotech labs. Everything Mira tried to hide, and more. At the center, Daniel's biometric ID. And a timestamp. Tomorrow, 11 a.m., Seattle Biocore. Emma's stomach twisted. It wasn't over, it was scheduled. She scrolled further. A second password prompt appeared. What did you name him? Daniel stirred beside her, wincing slightly in his sleep. Emma kept her eyes on the screen. Elijah, that was the name Daniel had insisted on, said it would matter someday. She typed, Elijah access granted. The tablet screen changed, a live map loaded. Red pings, dozens of them, and one was moving. Fast, straight toward the hospital. Karen stepped into the doorway, holding a plastic bag of snacks from the vending machine. They said we can't stay much longer. Emma spun the tablet around. They're still tracking us. Karen stepped forward, her face going pale. What? Emma pointed at the red dot getting closer. This location is compromised. Daniel stirred again, groaning. Emma touched his arm. We need to move, she whispered. Now. She pulled the power cord from the wall and slid the tablet into her go bag. The screen flashed. Auto purge, 259-258. She grabbed her phone. Started filming the screen. File names, coordinates, logs. One last name caught her eye. Cassandra Shaw. Directive. Secure the vault. Last contact 3 hours ago. Daniel opened his eyes again, groggy. Emma checked the hallway before speaking. We're not safe here. We're leaving. Where? He croaked. Emma met his eyes. Somewhere they won't follow. They couldn't go home, couldn't trust the hospital, couldn't risk another ambush. Emma drove. Daniel gave her directions but barely spoke. In the back seat, Karen kept glancing at the rearview mirror, her hand resting on the duffel bag like it was a weapon. After nearly an hour, Emma finally asked, Where are we going? Daniel looked over slowly, voice low. Somewhere off-grid, no cameras, no connection. A place I built when I still believed this life was temporary. Emma narrowed her eyes. A safe house? He shook his head. Worse, it's where the lies were supposed to stay buried. Emma didn't respond. She just gripped the wheel tighter and drove. The bunker wasn't marked on any map. A rusted gate, a winding gravel path. At the end, a concrete shelter half sunken into the earth. Daniel used an old key card from the lining of his coat. The lock buzzed. The heavy door creaked open. Inside, the place was cold and silent. Concrete walls, flickering lights, dust in the air. Like time had been holding its breath. Emma followed, hand resting on her belly. She wasn't scared, just tired of the truth arriving in pieces. The final room looked like a server vault, wires, screens, and a central console built into steel. Emma stopped in the doorway. You really built this? Daniel nodded. Before I met you, before I had a reason to stop running. Daniel approached the console. The monitors blinked to life, asking for biometric access. It's dead, he said. The chip Cassandra extracted held the encryption key. Without it, but then the screen flickered. Alternate access granted. Voice pattern match. Wallace, Daniel, 81%. Daniel stared. I didn't build that in. Emma stepped closer. Could Cassandra have added it? No, he said. Someone else did. Another message appeared. Deletion incomplete. Partial backup found. Emma froze. I thought Cassandra took everything. She thought she did, Daniel muttered. Then a new prompt appeared. Wipe remaining files? This action cannot be undone. Emma looked at Daniel. Can they trace it? He hesitated. Maybe. Karen spoke up quietly from the back. If it leaks, we're not the only targets. Emma didn't wait. She moved toward the console. Then we end it. All of it. Daniel looked at her, not surprised, just sad. You sure? She nodded. Our son doesn't need this hanging over his head. No secrets, no ghosts. Daniel reached forward, hand resting on hers. Together, they pressed the final confirmation. The room dimmed. Servers began to glow red. Data flushing, lines of code vanishing like smoke. Then, quiet. Just before the power cut, one final line flashed on screen. Agent still active. Location unknown. Emma saw it. Blinked, but the screen went black before she could ask anything. Daniel, what did that mean? He was already pulling her toward the door. Nothing we need to chase. Outside, the cool air met them like a warning. Behind them, the bunker collapsed, not in fire, but in silence, like the past folding in on itself. They walked away without a word, but Emma's thoughts didn't. In a motel on the outskirts of nowhere, Emma sat alone on the edge of the bed. Elijah slept in his bassinet beside her, just 3 weeks old. She looked down at his tiny fingers, his chest rising and falling, so peaceful. Daniel was asleep in the next room. Karen had gone to call her husband. For a moment, it felt over. But then she glanced at the baby, and a chill ran down her spine. 3 weeks later, the world had gone quiet, or maybe just decided to look away. Elijah had arrived one stormy night, silent and wide-eyed, not crying, just watching, as if he already knew the world he was born into wasn't safe. No press, no agents, no Cassandra, just a baby, a scarred father, and a mother who no longer believed in silence. Daniel sat on the other side of the nursery now, hands folded. He visited Elijah daily, spoke gently, tried. But trust wasn't like the chip they extracted. It couldn't just be removed and handed over. It had to be earned. And Daniel, for all his apologies, still hadn't told her everything. Emma knew she might never get the full truth. He'd brought danger to their doorstep. Let her believe the life they built was real, while hiding shadows inside his skin. She wasn't sure she'd ever forgive that. So she made a quiet decision. When this was over, when it was truly over, she would leave. No grand confrontation, no screaming match, just a suitcase, a baby in her arms, and a future that didn't include a man who broke her the way he did. Daniel had just laid Elijah down. The baby stirred, then settled. He turned to leave quietly, but Emma's voice stopped him. "Before you go," Daniel froze. "There's one question I never asked, because I wasn't ready to hear the answer." She looked up from the chair, her eyes glassy but sharp. "Why?" He blinked. "Why did you leave that day without saying anything? Why were you trying to disappear while I was folding baby clothes, thinking you were just stuck in traffic?" Daniel stood still for a moment. Then he sat back down. "Because I was scared." Emma gave a hollow laugh. "You?" He nodded. "I thought if I left quietly, maybe no one else would get hurt. I'd been followed for weeks. Someone knew I'd gone dark. I was trying to run before they got to you too." She frowned. "So your plan was to vanish and leave me behind?" Daniel sighed. "My plan was broken before it began." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "The car crash wasn't an accident. Someone intercepted me. The moment I crossed a certain line, they were waiting. They needed me alive. Because the thing inside me wasn't finished transmitting." Emma's face hardened. "And instead of telling me the truth, you let strangers search our house. You let someone throw a grenade into our safe place." Daniel's voice broke. "You were 7 months pregnant. I thought I was protecting you by keeping you in the dark. But the truth is," he paused, "I was protecting myself from the guilt, from seeing the fear in your eyes if you knew what I'd done." Emma didn't look away. She just listened and hurt. "That man at the safe house?" Daniel continued. "I called in an old favor when I was bleeding out in that hospital. He got you the passports, the keys, everything. And the woman in the hospital? Cassandra's plant. She came to extract the chip early, but something changed. They weren't just after the data anymore. They were after what the chip could unlock." Emma stood now, her hands clenched. "And all this time, you let me carry the weight, alone." Daniel looked at her, eyes tired, hollow, honest. "Yes, and I'll never be able to make that right." He stood, gently brushing his hand across Elijah's tiny head. "I understand now. You might never forgive me, and maybe you shouldn't." He turned to the door, paused. "But whatever happens, you were never the weak one. You were the hero in all of this. Not me." The words hung in the air, not loud, but deep, the kind that echo long after they're spoken. Emma stood still for a moment, her arms folded across her chest. Then she let them drop. Her voice came soft at first, not angry, not bitter, just tired. "I gave you everything, Daniel." Her eyes never left his. "I built a home around you. I believed in the version of what you showed me, even when you stayed late, even when the lies crept in around the edges. I defended you to people who doubted. I carried your child and your silence at the same time." Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. "Do you know how alone I felt? Folding tiny socks while the phone rang and someone told me you might not make it? That was the moment I realized I was already on my own." Daniel tried to speak, but she raised a hand. "Don't. Just don't." A long silence settled between them. The storm outside softened to a drizzle. "You thought you were protecting me," she said finally. "But protection without truth isn't love. It's control. And now, I don't even know who I was loving." She glanced at Elijah in the crib, peaceful and unaware. "I don't hate you, Daniel, but I don't think I can find my way back to the version of us that once existed." Her voice lowered to a whisper. "You shattered something I can't glue back together, and maybe I don't want to." Silence settled. Daniel stood in the doorway, eyes heavy. "I know you won't believe me, but I did love you." Emma didn't move. Her voice was calm, quieter than the storm outside. "Maybe, but I deserved more than love. I deserved truth, and you knew that." He lingered as if waiting for something, permission, forgiveness, hope. It didn't come. She turned toward the crib instead, brushing a hand gently across Elijah's tiny back. "You should go, Daniel." A pause. One heartbeat. Then he nodded and left. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Not a slam, not a goodbye. Just closure. Emma sat back in the chair, her gaze unfocused. She wasn't angry anymore, just done. Whatever he'd come to say, whatever pieces he tried to explain, they didn't change the damage already done. She had carried a child through chaos, survived ambushes, secrets, betrayal. Now she was carrying something else, clarity. Daniel wouldn't be part of the next chapter. Maybe he'd visit, maybe he'd try. But Emma had already made her choice. Some trust doesn't get rebuilt. Some love doesn't deserve a second chance. And sometimes, walking away is the closure. That night, the house hummed low under a passing storm. Emma sat by Elijah's crib, staring at the cracked tablet. It still worked, barely. One folder remained, Bellevue Backup 2. She hadn't opened it, not because she feared what was inside, but because she already knew. Daniel thought destroying the vault destroyed the key. But nothing inside Mira was ever that simple. She hovered over the folder, then turned away. "Not tonight," she whispered. "You get one night of peace." Elijah slept in the crib beside her, his tiny chest rising and falling in rhythm with the rain. Then, a click. Quiet, mechanical, barely louder than the storm outside. Emma stiffened. She scanned the room, the monitor, nothing. She looked back at Elijah. Just beneath the soft skin at the base of his neck, a faint red light pulsed once, and vanished. Emma didn't see it, but deep down, she felt it. Some things don't stay buried. If you were in Emma's shoes, could you ever forgive Daniel and start over? Or would you walk away for good and begin again on your own? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. If this story pulled you in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful daily stories.